All right, and we are back in action, baby. Yes, it's the Betting Pros College Football Show. And after a long offseason away, we're back in the saddle with our Week 0 early picks and line movement predictions. I'm your host, Seth Woolcock, coming to you roughly 50 minutes north of Happy Valley, where the number 2 team in the country is gearing up for what some are calling our season. And riding shotgun with me is my fellow Yinzer, holding it down in the Longhorn State archman and backer, one of the sharpest CFB handicappers across this beautiful nation. It's Scott Bogman. Hook 'em, Boggs. Great to be back with you. And if you couldn't tell, I'm absolutely jacked up for college football to be back in our lives beginning this Saturday, my friend.
Hey, look, I'm about 3 hours east of where the actual national title contenders are in Austin. So yeah, man, look, it's so much fun for us because our teams are like 1 and 2 in the preseason poll.
Right.
So we're looking down at everybody right now. Of course, my season could turn upside down real quick with
Sure,
Ohio State
certainly.
week 1 against the Longhorns, but it's a long season. Regardless of what happens in that game, I think both of our teams are going to be in the playoff and contending this year. So, but a long way to go. And we're
Yes.
just at the roots of this season. It's going to grow into a nice, mighty oak. So we are ready to rock and roll. Let's plant the seed. Let's roll.
Let's do it, man. Vibes are high. The betting cards are back to records of 0, 0, and 0 as well. So we'll reset that. And in today's episode, it does look like this. We'll break down the early picks and line movement predictions for Farmageddon, Iowa State versus Kansas State in Dublin, Ireland, of course, and Fresno State at Kansas, Stanford at Hawaii. We also have some rapid fire picks coming your way for Sam Houston at Western Kentucky, and of course, Idaho State at UNLV. A little FCS versus FBS class to round us out. And then we'll also share our week 0 betting strategy. How are we approaching this from a unit allocation standpoint? And it's fantastic time to get invested with the pageantry that is college football. And there's no better time to start than this limited week 0 slate. Kind of dip your toes into the water a little bit. And real quick before we jump in, shout out to everyone hanging out with us either on the BettingPros YouTube channel or the audio feed. Easiest free way to support us. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy this type of content. Also, make sure if you are new that you're subscribed so you don't miss a second of college football betting coverage this season. And let's go ahead and jump into the early picks and line movement predictions for week 0's biggest games at noon Eastern time. It is Farmageddon in Dublin. We're number 17 Kansas State. They're now a 3-point favorite against their Big 12 rival, the 22nd ranked Iowa State Cyclones. Iowa State is returning 14 starters, but will have to replace their talented wide receiver duo of Jaden Higgins and Jalen Knoll, plus speedy cornerback Darian Porter Jr., all of whom went on day 2 of the NFL draft. Head coach Matt Campbell, Rocco Becht at quarterback. They led the Cyclones to an 11-3 record last season and the Big 12 championship game where they ultimately fell to the Arizona State Sun Devils. Kansas State on the other side, though, they had incredibly high hopes in 2024. They let Will Howard go. They let Avery Johnson, dual threat quarterback, sophomore last season, run the show. However, I would say they fell short of expectations. Finished 9-4. All 4 losses came in Big 12 play. The Wildcats returned 11 starters on both sides of the ball combined, including CFF favorite Dylan Edwards at running back. So, Boggs, let's start with the expected line movement. What are you expecting this to move to after originally opening up at a 3.5-point spread?
Yeah, I think K-State I think it's moving towards K-State, but it opened up way earlier in the offseason. All these week 0 lines, week 1 lines opened way too early to start getting some numbers on them and stuff. And it opened up way too early, and I think it was on the other side. And so over the last month, it's gone from 3.5 to 3, 3.5 to 3. So I think we're probably going to stay there. But it looks like the consensus of what I have seen of people picking this game is that K-State. People are on K-State, so I expect the money to flow towards them a little bit. But this is a good game to start us with, man. This is right down the middle. This can go either way. And remember, we had this game overseas last year to start off the season. It was Fresno State and Georgia Tech, Florida State and Georgia Tech. And Florida State was a massive favorite. Everybody had them. Georgia Tech ended up winning that game. So week 0, week 1 is always crazy. But for me, I think I'm going to be on K-State here. Is that where you have fallen? Where are you at, Sethy?
So for me, if I had to pick a side here, I would go Kansas State. I do agree with you. But the way I'm playing this right now, I haven't bet this yet. I'm going to be waiting for a boost. But the Iowa State team under 23.5 points is minus 106 at FanDuel. I think Rocco Bet could struggle a little bit off the rip here, getting adjusted without Higgins, without Knoll. They do have 6-year senior Daniel Jackson. He transfers in from Minnesota. He's going to play that X position, probably their best wide receiver. And then they have Chase Sowell. He's coming from ECU to run out of the flanker position. And then Xavier Townsend from UCF. He's coming off injury to replace Knoll in the slot. So I have big question marks about this Iowa State offense. It was very potent last season. And the other thing to keep in mind here, Boggs, is Kansas State was 11th in rushing last season, 215.5 yards per game. And Iowa State could not stop the run. We talked about it all last season. Their linebacking core was depleted, 109th in rushing defense, first in passing defense as well. So they had that great secondary. I think Chris Kleinman, I think he'll be very inclined to keep the ball on the ground, chew the clock with Dylan Edwards, score those college fantasy football points for those who invested in the Wildcats running back. So I think Kansas State's going to try to run this clock out. I think they're going to try to keep the ball away from Rocco Becht. And for me, it's the Iowa State under 23.5 points currently. Your thoughts on that and kind of the analysis that Kleinman might want to keep the ball out of the air early on?
I mean, I think Avery Johnson is not the best passing quarterback. So I think
Yeah.
keeping the ball on the ground with him and with Dylan Edwards in particular is exactly the name of the game for the Wildcats here. And for me, the big missing piece from last year for K-State on offense is Giddens, but they're replacing him with one of the best running backs in the conference in Dylan Edwards, as you mentioned before. They're pieces of the O-line that they lost that they addressed through the portal this season. On defense, are very stable up front, but they lost a lot in the secondary, which you would think matches up well with Iowa State, who had all those passing yards last year. But the reason I like K-State is because the weakness that they have in the secondary, I don't think matches up very well with Iowa State. You lost Jalen Knoll and Jaden Higgins. That's 129 and 119 targets. That's just under 50% of the targets for that team. And no other player had more than 34. Right. So you have guys that are transferring in that have experience, but you're not getting Higgins or Knoll. You're not getting second and third round NFL draft picks to come in here and take this over. Last year, Iowa State rated 112th in pass blocking, 119th in run blocking. The O-line was not the strength last season, and they lost their best O-lineman in Jalen Travis to the NFL draft. So I think everything offensively flows through the wide receivers in Knoll and Higgins, and they ranked 23rd last year in receiving grade. That was literally the only positive part of their offense. The running backs are good, but they can't block for them, obviously, from the grades that they had last year. So I don't want to touch the total because I don't know how bad the K-State secondary is going to be. I think it's going to be rough. Iowa State is still strong on defense, like you said, so this should keep this game closer, right? But I just think that Kansas State is a more complete team. I think you ripped the heart out of Iowa State by taking away their big pass catchers from last season, and they just don't have an identity on offense yet. Maybe they find it. Maybe they find it quickly. It's week 0. We don't know a lot about these teams. Maybe some of these wide receivers are way better than I'm giving credit for at Iowa State, but I don't think so. So I'm on K-State here.
So are you taking that now then because you're expecting maybe this to balloon up a little bit?
Yeah, I think if it does move, it's going to move towards K-State. So I would get it as early as I can. And I think 3 is the best number you can get right now.
Okay, before we keep it moving, I did want to remind everyone that you can actually track the movement of lines in real time with the BettingPros app. Download the free BettingPros app for iOS and Android with Sportsbook Sync. You can automatically track your bets across all major sportsbooks in one spot. Easily monitor your bet performance by sport and bet type, including game picks, props, and of course, parlays. Create custom betting systems to find winning trends and profitable opportunities. You can get a free 7-day trial of Betting Pros Premium by downloading the app at bettingpros.com/apps and using the promo code JUICE and activating your trial on the upgrade screen. The action keeps going at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, where the Kansas Jayhawks are 12-point home favorites against Fresno State. Kansas was another team that I would say finished well below expectations last year, towards the bottom of the Big 12 standings, missed a bowl game. However, they did win 3 of their last 4 games, went on a heater down the stretch there, including matchups against Iowa State, Colorado, and BYU, all of whom were in contention for the Big 12 title. Rock Chalk returns just 6 starters, including 6-year senior Jalen Daniels. However, he will be without former star running back Devin Neal in the backfield for the first time in his collegiate career. Fresno State, meanwhile, they're turning the page after a 6-7 season. Fourth in the Mountain West, though, and they begin the Matt Entz era, who was an assistant coach at USC last year. Formerly, though, was of North Dakota State, took them to 2 FCS championship games. Mikey Keene gone at quarterback. That opens up the door for E.J. Warner to take over after transferring in from Rice. The Bulldogs, we know one thing about them here, Boggs, is they like that power run game. They carried their offense last year. They have depth in the backfield once again, but inexperience out wide and on defense could spell trouble for them this season. Where are you going with the line movement here, Scott? Are you thinking that this will continue to shrink? It opened up at 14. It's still there at some books, but has moved closer to 12 at most shops. So are you thinking this is still going to shrink?
I do. I think there's no public trust in Kansas. And it's hard to combat that. Like, it's hard to give a good reason against that. I guess, you pointing out how great Kansas was at the end of 2024
Cash cows.
is, yeah, they were great. They ruined a lot of my tickets.
Yeah.
I remember being very aggravated by them. I don't love this game. And this is a perfect game to practice patience, right?
Agreed.
If I'm picking something, I'll give you a pick. My pick is Kansas minus the points. And the reason is because Fresno State is hitting the reset button at every position this year. Matt Entz is coming in. He's cleaning house. They had a physical camp. They hit a bunch. And he just wants this is a trim the fat year for Fresno State. And they might start to gel really well and work together at some point this season. But I don't think it's going to be week 1 on the road in Lawrence against a Power 4 contender or a Power 4 team. So for me, I like Matt Entz. I think he's going to improve Fresno State quickly and rapidly. But I do not like the matchup here with Kansas. Jalen Daniels, like you said, took that massive step back. 20 touchdowns and 20 turnovers. Devin Neal is gone. The wide receiver room and tight end room are completely different than they were last season. They're replacing 3 of 5 starters on the offensive line. They're 85th in returning defensive production, the Jayhawks. So there's a lot to not like about the Jayhawks, which makes me want to stay away from this game because I know nothing about Fresno State because Matt Entz he's doing it on the fly right now.
Right.
So for me, I do think Kansas wins this game going away. I think this is a nice momentum builder. If you're the Jayhawks, you put some points up, you get your confidence going and all that against a G6 opponent here. But for me, I'm going to take Kansas and lay the points if I'm doing anything. And honestly, I'm not touching this one.
Yeah, I agree. This is a no bet for me. If I had to pick something for me, I would lean towards the under just with 2 newer offenses getting their feet under them. I'm curious how Kansas will run the rock now without Devin Neal in the backfield to take a little coverage off of Daniels there. So, but still, do you really ever feel good laying an under in a big, a game in a Big 12 stadium? I don't. So
you shouldn't.
Yeah. So I think for both of us right now, it is a pass, but we are expecting this to potentially continue to shrink up here, huh?
Yeah, I think so. I think it is going to trend towards Fresno State just because no one really trusts Kansas.
Yeah, but we'll see what Terrell has to say on our picks and predictions episode later this week. See if he can give you guys.
Glad he's not here to
show.
argue about Rocco Becht with me yet. So
yeah, we'll save that for another day. Hawaii keeps its tradition of hosting Week 0 games alive, and as they sit anywhere from a 1.5 to a 2.5 point favorite against the Stanford Cardinal after finishing 3-9 last season, second to last in the ACC. Andrew Luck was named general manager and made his presence felt almost immediately. He fired head coach Troy Taylor, brought in his old head coach Frank Wright to lead this ball club. And it was a long quarterback battle this offseason for Stanford, but it looks like it's going to be Oregon State transfer Ben Gulbranson, who will get the nod. He is surrounded by 11 stars, including running back Sam Roush, who's returning. However, this is a whole new wide receiver core, including the loss of Alec Ayomanor to the NFL draft. He ended up with the Titans. Meanwhile, Timmy Chang We only talk about Timmy Chang and Hawaii about once a year, Boggs, and this is
It's
the
week
episode.
0.
Yeah, this is it, man. 2 back-to-back 5-win seasons for the Rainbow Warriors. It's a youth movement for Hawaii, though. They will be having Micah Ahadro continuing at quarterback after taking over midseason last year. But at least his 2 top receivers will be back in the mix this year, as well as his running back, Landon Sims. Boggs, this is one of those rare instances, though, where Hawaii did open as a 2.5-point dog, and they are now bet up to a 1.5-point favorite. Will that line continue to move in that direction?
I don't know how much more it will move because as much confidence as you don't have in Stanford, and no one should have any confidence in Stanford, I have about the same amount of confidence in Hawaii. I think Hawaii's got a couple things going for them, right? Troy Taylor being fired by Andrew Luck for this bullying thing and all of that. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's just weird. It's late in
Yeah.
the process. It was in March. And then Frank Reich, his old head coach, to come in as I guess he's going to get the interim tag the entire season while
Right.
they're figuring this out is weird. You mentioned they lost their best offensive player in Alec Maynard to the draft. He went to the Titans. They also lost their best defensive player in David Bailey, transferring
Mm.
out and going to Texas Tech. So I think when you have a team that's already kind of on the rocks, right? I think that when you take their best offensive and best defensive player away, and those guys were the big difference makers for them
Yep.
last year, if they had any, which they really didn't,
Yeah.
right? They had good stats. And we saw Alejado, Mike Alejado start against New Mexico last season. He was really good. It was against New Mexico, so let's not, you know, throw the baby out with the bathwater or anything. But they're Hawaii's at home. It's a long travel for Stanford. It's the first week of the season. You have a new head coach. I think conventional wisdom tells you to take the P4 team even on the road, and they're getting points. But I just don't like Stanford right now. I think Hawaii is better. I think Alejado, at least has a little bit of experience, and that's what you want. You want it to go point for point. So I think I'm going to lean Hawaii here. But
Mhm.
again, not my favorite bet of the week, and I will not have action on it. My pick is Hawaii. I'm going to stay
Okay.
away from this game.
Yeah, I'm with you as well. Like if I had to bet this, it would be the Hawaii money line. Ashton Daniels was terrible last year, so I don't know how much worse this Stanford offense could get. But I mean, Alec Manor was such a threat on the outside that I think he opened up some of that run game as well and drew a ton of double coverage, especially after back in 2023 when he put Travis Hunter on skates and on notice that game with a 3 touchdown. So I just don't like it from Stanford. I think they will improve eventually under Andrew Luck. I just don't know if that starts in week 0 here on the road in Honolulu. So good call out by you. Looks like another one where we're both not betting it, but we are leaning towards Hawaii. So I like that. And before we keep it moving, I did want to remind everyone as well that if you want to track all your wagers in one place, you should definitely be checking out the Betting Pros Pick Tracker. It syncs up with your sports books to tally which picks hit and which miss. Plus, it gives you a live look at what the public is doing. So using real-time tracking to determine whether you should be making these plays or maybe whether you should be fading them. So track your picks today with the Betting Pros Pick Tracker at bettingpros.com/tracking or on the Betting Pros Sports Betting app. Let's get to our rapid fire picks for the 2 remaining games on the slate. We've got a Conference USA clash at 7 p.m. Eastern time where Sam Houston State comes into Western Kentucky as anywhere from a 9.5-point dog to a 10-point dog. And these were 2 of the 3 top teams in CUSA last year, but WKU got into the championship game on tiebreakers and then eventually got rolled by Rich Rod and Jacksonville State. Bad defeat for them to end the season. The Hilltoppers have won against the Bearkats in 2 straight seasons. However, Sam Houston is returning dual threat quarterback Hunter Watson and a bunch of big boys up front, while WKU is almost totally new look on the offensive side of the ball. Where are you going in this game, Boggs?
Over. Let's not pick a side in this one. I
Okay.
know there's a side that you like, but for me, it's over 59. I think we have 2 good offenses and 2 really bad defenses here, which is why I like the over. And WKU, they're turning the roster over, right? But the system is going to be the same. They're going to be very, very pass heavy, and they bring in a new quarterback, Maverick McIver from Abilene Christian. And this dude, career 60% completion rate with over 1,000 attempts, 30 touchdowns, 7 picks last year. I just think a QB with experience is going to continue to have this offense rolling. Hunter Watson, your boy from Sam Houston, uh, he should. He wasn't great. He got hurt last year against WKU. He wasn't great passing the ball either. But against WKU, he was 6 for 9 for 128 yards and 2 scores before leaving injured. He's a run-heavy threat, which I think means they're going to be putting up some points. WKU is 102nd in returning production on defense, and their defense wasn't great last year. And Sam Houston is 133rd in returning defensive production. So there's lots of new moving pieces. Both teams have QBs with experience. I like the over.
Okay. It makes sense, man. I totally understand why you're going that direction. My thing is this is not FCS football. This is CUSA football, baby. And I think nobody does it better and more under the radar than Sam Houston State. I've already bet it. Favorite pick of the week, Sam Houston plus 10 flat, minus 105 at ESPN Bet. I'm also taking a little money line sprinkle plus 340 for about half a unit. Give me the experienced quarterback going in as a 10-point dog. And let's not forget the motivation of this as well. They saw the same WKU team, I mean, different roster, but same program get blown out in the championship game. They probably feel that they should have had that advantage going in there and could have potentially upset Rich Rod and company there. So I think even with home field at play, I think this line should be closer to a touchdown. I think it probably moves in that direction as well as the week goes on. So give me a little Sam Houston State plus 10, and I'll also take a little sprinkle on that money line, Boggs.
I like it. I don't like a side because I want to see what these teams' defenses look like, but I like it. Get some confidence in your boys.
Let's go,
I
baby.
might go to that game. Is that game here?
It's Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky.
Yeah, I'm not going.
How far is Sam Houston from you?
Not long. 45 minutes.
Oh, that would be so. I was just talking to my buddy. He has to go pick up some NASCAR diecast he bought out in Toledo. And I've always wanted to go to Toledo game, so we were kind of like trying to like look at dates and like when I'm not on shows and stuff. And it hasn't worked out. I don't know if I'll be going, but yeah, I'm trying to get out. I would love to visit like all the G5, well, I guess G6 now stadiums. I think that would be cool. Sam Houston definitely on that list as well. But let's go ahead. Let's one more pick for the afternoon here. Also on Saturday is UNLV's home opener at 4 p.m. Eastern time against the FCS-based Idaho State Bengals. Idaho State finished towards the bottom of the Big 12 or Big Sky Conference, with a 5-7 overall record. And meanwhile, UNLV, great season for them last year, finished 11-3, but they did end up losing the championship game in the Mountain West to Ashton Genty's Boise State Broncos. Couldn't stop them once, couldn't stop them twice. Still, the Rebels now begin the Dan Mullen era, who leaves TV, heads back to college football, and they are losing their top wide receiver, Ricky White, and quarterback Haj Malik Williams, and a ton of other starters as well. Unsure as of now if it will be Michigan transfer quarterback Alex Orji or Virginia's Anthony Calandra under center to start here. Boggs, do you trust UNLV to lay the big point total against a subpar FCS squad?
I mean, I would pick them, but they are 123rd in returning production. Obviously, new coaching staff, new pieces here. This is a completely different team. The thing that I like, the reason I would take UNLV, I should say, because I don't like anything about UNLV, but the reason I would take UNLV is because I think with all of these new pieces in UNLV, I think you want to get some momentum. You want to sustain some drives. You want to cap drives with touchdowns. You want to instill as much confidence in your team as possible. So even if you are blowing out this team, all right, well, let's take Calandria out. Let's put Orji in. Let's take Orji out. Let's put Calandria in. Let's see what both these guys have. And maybe you're giving them both a half. Maybe if it's a blowout, you're giving them both a half. Maybe if it's not, you're giving one a quarter, whatever it is. I think you use this game as a momentum builder to move forward under new coaching staff, replacing so many players. So for me, I think UNLV is attempting to run up the score here. This is a bad FCS team from last season. Obviously, maybe it looks completely different, but I would not expect a lot from them. So, yeah, I guess I would lay the points and take UNLV, but again, stay away from me.
I'm going to be on UNLV in some shape or fashion when this line continues to move. If it does, I saw right before we went live, actually, Caesar just moved this down to 23.5 points.
We
So
got a team
that
total for
no,
UNLV?
no team totals yet. I have not. I've been scouring that. One thing to keep in mind here is because this is an FCS opponent, some books aren't even listing this game. Like DraftKings
Yes.
doesn't even
Yeah,
have
yeah.
this game listed. So just kind of got to keep your head on a swivel for this one and look out. Maybe we will get a team total eventually because I agree. I would probably back a UNLV over. But I actually like the fact that there might be two quarterbacks. I know the old homage that if you have two quarterbacks, you have none, Scott. But at the same time, like they're two different style quarterbacks. Calandro more of that kind of passing, pocket passer, and then Orgy. We don't really think he can throw, but he is quick, right? We saw that a couple times. So I think
Both these
having
guys
the
can move. That's the nice thing. They can both move a little. So
Mhm,
we like that for sure. But yeah, I mean, it could look really, it could look clunky as hell to start. It could look
mhm.
great. That's why I don't want to mess with it.
I will say too, if UNLV looks good, we'll look for them in the futures market. They were about 20-1 last time I looked, 24-1 at some books to make the playoffs. And there's always going to be a G5 or a G6 spot open for someone to take it. I know Boise State's still the favorite in that department, but if UNLV can get off to a hot start here in this new era under Dan Mullen, I like it. So just something to keep in mind there.
24-1. You're on that stuff. I
Uh,
like it.
Yeah, I'm looking, man. I'm scoping it out. I also have, speaking of Toledo, I also got a little Toledo to make the
The
playoffs.
hunter, the deal hunter. Here he
That's what
is.
we do. That's what we do out
Atta
here,
boy.
baby. Let's go ahead and round it out though by discussing our week zero betting strategy. Bogman, when it comes to your bankroll, are you hammering any of these week zero bets, or do you think it's wiser to bet less, potentially avoid yourself getting in a hole heading into week one?
Yeah, I think specifically to start, um, you know, we replaced so much of the roster. If you guys listen to the tips for beginners, I
Hmm.
mentioned this here, but I think your bet should grow as the season grows when you become
Hmm.
more familiar with the team. So I do minimal action, specifically week one and the last week of the season, because we just don't know a lot about these teams yet. You've heard me say that
Hmm.
a couple times here, and uh, you know, I think I know some stuff, so I'll make the bets on what I think I know,
Hmm.
but I'll learn. Week one is a learning week for most games. So there's going to be a couple games I like. There's a couple numbers I like here in week zero. There will be some I like in week one, but really week two there'll be way more. Week
Hmm.
three, once you get into
Hmm.
conference play, like your bet should bulge in the middle. I feel like so. To me, I week zero, week one is a lighter slate.
I agree. I'll probably have 3 plays on my card in total when it's all said and done. I did lay about 2 units down on Sam Houston. I'm pretty confident
Oh
there,
man,
but
let's
yeah,
go.
but like aside from that, like I'll probably be less than a unit invested in Farmageddon just because that could go any way. Even though
That
I'm
game is
fading,
so tight.
I
Yeah, it
know,
really
I
could go.
know. Even though I do like Iowa State to potentially stay under their point total, and then I would like to lay something down with UNLV, but just got to find the right thing. And something to keep in mind too is that as the week progresses, the week closer to Saturday, I guarantee there'll be some potential boosts out there, maybe some sweat-free bets that you can get invested with too. I know the sports books, they've been chomping at the bit to get people back invested in CFB betting. So there might be some additional ways in there later on in the week, but we'll certainly cover that. That is going to do it for us on this opening episode of the Betting Pros College Football Show.
We back.
We
Let's
back, baby. The
go.
boys are back in town, fired up. Still to come later this week and every week of the college football betting season, our picks and predictions show with Terrell. Boggs will also have his best bets closer to the weekend. And we have a parlay picks episode coming your way as well. Let us know down in the comments below your favorite week zero early picks. And while you're here, make sure you're smashing that like button and subscribing if you're new. For Scott Bogman, I'm Seth Woolcock. Take care, y'all.